Welcome to episode 30 of the Sports Geek podcast. On today's podcast, we preview the Aussie Open with the Tennis Australia digital team, Social Shack, what is AO Blitz, and how they'll be using Snappy TV. And then I'll take a look back at the year that was 2013.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for the sports digital marketer. And now, here's your host, with 2 podcasts ranked in iTunes, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, it has been a big year in podcasting for Sports Geek. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and a little bit over 6 months ago, I started this podcast, and then I launched another one, Beers, Blokes and Business. So just to give you a bit of a recap, I've done 52 episodes, nearly 30,000 downloads, and over 51 reviews on iTunes for both the podcasts. So thank you very much if you left a review. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to leave a review, you can do so at sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Planning bigger and better things for the podcast in 2014. A big thanks to both Francis Leach and Daniel Harford, who allow me to come on their radio shows, and I've been using some of those segments for the podcast. Okay, let's get stuck into today's episode. On today's episode, I catch up with Kim Trengove and Dan Latimer from Tennis Australia as they're busily preparing for the Aussie Open that starts in a few weeks' time here in Melbourne, Australia. We did have some glitches recording, so there might be a few stops and starts, but hopefully you don't notice. After 52 episodes, I do know how to edit a podcast, hopefully. So here's my interview with Kim Trengove and Daniel Latimer on the Sports Geek podcast. Here we are at Rod Laver Arena. I'm here talking to some of the people from Tennis Australia. The Australian Open is coming up soon. You'll be seeing the hashtag AusOpen trending, no doubt. I have Kim Trengove, who is the Manager of Digital and Publishing at Tennis Australia, and Dan Latimer, who's a social media coordinator here at Tennis Australia, joining me in, I think it's interview room B or 2.
Interview room 2.
At underneath Rod Laver Arena. Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
And we are now in preparations for the Aussie Open. When does the Aussie Open really take focus from a global, an Australian and a global point of view?
Well, I think at the moment everyone in our team has gone to all different parts of Australia for the Hopman Cup, for the Brisbane International. The qualifying of that has started today, and Hobart, and then Sydney just before the tournament. So it's always traditional for us, just around New Year's Eve, Hopman Cup, it's on television. So people aren't, it's all geared towards the lead up to the Australian Open, but they're not really thinking about the Australian Open until probably another week. That all gets underway, and then the qualifying starts here on the 8th of January. And then the whole world's looking at us. I mean, they're looking at us now, who are the players that are going to pull out, who's doing well at the other events, and we'll start getting some big names practicing here in a couple of weeks. It's really quiet here. We're sitting in this little interview room, but one day there'll be a big name player, probably Nadal or someone will be out in centre court, which is just behind us, and we'll have the first photos appearing on our social media channels.
So Dan, that probably leads us to talk about social and how the Aussie Open uses it. You want to give all the listeners an idea of, one, what platforms you're on and what platforms have really worked for you guys?
Yeah, so we're on most platforms for the Australian Open. We try to be everywhere for everyone. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. We do have a Pinterest and Tumblr account. So we try to get those active during the tournament rather than the lead up. But during tournament, we try to cover off all those bases. And hashtag AusOpen, AUS Open, rather than OZ Open is the one we use. So definitely people can follow us. But for us, I mean, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram are definitely the big channels that we concentrate on. Instagram especially has grown exponentially for us since the last tournament. So in 2013 we've seen massive growth in that area, so we'll be concentrating on providing a real behind the scenes exclusive look on that channel.
And the thing is, Instagram, even though it doesn't drive any traffic, it definitely helps you tell the story and helps the fans tell the story, and that's why you were just showing me out the concourse there, all the activations you're going to do. You're going to have a big AusOpen hashtag to make sure people use the AUS one, but Instagram will be huge because, we've worked with stadiums before, and I think Instagram is great for stadiums and events for the fans that they want to brag. They want to say, hey, I'm at the tennis, or I'm watching Nadal, or, I'm on Centre Court or on Margaret Court with the new roof. Fans will be sharing that. So from a social curation point of view, what kind of stuff are you going to be doing in that space?
We're really going to encourage a lot of people who are coming on site to definitely, like you were saying, brag and show that they're here. And we find in the lead up to the tournament, we get a lot of people sharing even just pictures of their tickets to get excited. So we do have this social shack on site, which is going to be all the great things we do on social media in a sort of physical space. And we're going to set a few things up there, giant hashtag, check-in button, the whole building's going to look fantastic, and we're really hoping people are going to take photos of themselves with that and share it, especially on Instagram. We'll probably have a few competitions running during the tournament, so if you are coming down to the grounds, definitely drop by the Social Shack, because we'll probably be holding some Instagram competitions, Twitter competitions, and getting people to go around the grounds, take pics, and share them online.
So you were saying before, when we were giving a bit of the tour, you're looking forward to the Social Shack because it's a new initiative for this year, but helping you to sort of leverage what the players are doing, because there's some really big personalities on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, the players themselves. What do you hope to get out of that, the Social Shack?
Well, as far as the players, people are most, it sounds obvious, but people are most interested in the players. So we've got a new iPad app that we're releasing with IBM, our technology partners. It'll be released in January, and it's the focus of that app is the player. So we're building it around the scores, the draws, the schedule. That's what everybody wants. That's what our iPhone app and our Android's very popular. We got 1 million downloads of those two properties last year, and we're expecting more this year. But we've always wanted to have an iPad app, and we've experimented with all sorts of formats. Last year we had a photo app. We couldn't afford to do the whole bells and whistles, but this year we've gone all out with IBM. And there's a big focus on the players, player profiles, and being able to get push notifications about players, and being able to just pull in players that you're interested in and to tweet to them using their handles directly from the app. So the Social Shack is really building on that as well, and a lot of the screens in there, the visualiser, the content is around, again, drumming up that tribalism around players. For a couple of years we've monitored social sentiment online on ausopen.com to see which are the most popular players, and again using social stats that IBM are pulling in. But we're taking it a little bit further, making really visual and clear this year, and setting up little player tug-of-wars that people can sort of engage with and influence, monitoring the social cheer when there's a match on, who's getting the conversation, getting more talk. So it's all about that in the shack, having players visiting, having tweet-ups with players, having people who can, we really want people to be able to visibly see what's happening. It is really the physical meets the virtual world, and there are a lot of people who've created the social media channels at Tennis Australia. Not heaps of people, but 3 or 4 key people that people will actually be able to see them, not faceless. We think as one. We've developed a personality, I think, with the Grand Slams that's very known as having a lot of fun, very cheeky. We've
that
got
Aussie larrikin style.
Yeah, we've got a sub hashtag called Sleepers for the Week. I've had a T-shirt made. I'm selling them privately. But
monetising social media, we'll call it.
That's right. But we just hit recently 1 million likes on Facebook. So outside of Wimbledon, we're the biggest account, and Wimbledon's huge. It's very hard to beat Wimbledon. But I think we've maintained our channel week in, week out. We don't just let it go, and we try to be really creative with our content. We've liberated the serving man from the logo, and he's on all of our digital properties as well. When you open up the apps, you'll see the serving man sort of jumping around and then jumping back into the logo. So we just, again, we're trying to, with the Social Shack, deeper engagement with people on site. Being able to have an opportunity to see those players come there, a bit of buzz, being innovative. Again, we've got a bit of a reputation of trying new things. So we have to sort of, again, take it to a new level. We've got a wonderful precinct here, $363 million redevelopment. So the idea for the shack is that it will become a really big area one day where people will be able to have coffees and hang out and, I don't know, swing from the ceiling. Am I going too far, Dan? This is Dan's idea.
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, it does lend itself to similar stuff that the San Francisco Giants have done
really?
with their at cafe.
Yeah.
But like we've done it previously, encouraging those meetups to connect the fans that are super avid fans that are tweeting and posting and that they do want to meet Dan and the team behind because they feel that personal connection. But also you're getting so much foot traffic through that area that it will there will be people who do use Instagram that they're not as in with everything social, and they'll go, we want to use that hashtag, and they'll find they will find deeper engagement via going past that kind of thing, whether it's with the team itself and the Oz Open tags, or even better if they better connect with a player, and it might be a Federer, it might be a Nadal, but it might be one of those up and comers or a young Aussie that they then connect with and then follow for the next 12 months.
It started off, it was Dan's idea, and it started off as an opportunity for our sponsors. Are always asking us how can they get in on our channels, and we're very protective about what we're doing, and we have built up this strong community, and we don't want to alienate people. So Dan said about 6 months ago, why don't our sponsors sponsor the social media team? We thought that was a really great idea, so we went full bore into this social shack. We don't have any sponsors sponsoring the team, but we do have Kia, our greatest fan, and that's right next to the shack. And Kia Greatest Fan, again, is going to be around prove that you're a great fan, come out and say it, talk about it, have a video made, shoot it, Instagram it, come down to the shack, get your photo taken. You could win a car. It used to be that people would have to physically send in a photo. These are the days before Instagram, and nobody would do it, So, but now I think it's really going to open up, and we've got Rafael Nadal who's going to judge the entries, the final entry. So it should be really good.
And I want to clear up a misconception of what happens at Tennis Australia. You don't just work for 2 weeks a year. What happens at the other 50 weeks of year when there's not the Australian Open happening? What does the digital team, there's obviously lots of planning and work to get the Australian Open up and going. What else is in your charter as part of Tennis Australia?
Well, the key goal of Tennis Australia is to grow participation to 4 million people playing tennis by 2016. So everything that we do is geared towards that. The digital team is both a team that creates content and assets and a team that services the rest of the organisation. We've got 8 people in our team where we sit within the broader media team.
So do you mind breaking down what that breakdown of that team is, like as far as from a skills point of view and what type of roles they're in?
Well, in the general media team, we have a public relations team. We also have marketing within that team. We have TA production, and they are producing all our live streaming. They're going to be doing the host production for the Australian Open. They produce a lot of video content throughout the year that some of it's syndicated, and they'll set up live streaming for any other events that we're doing around the country at the moment. Digital and publishing. So the publishing side of it produces Australian Tennis Magazine each month, and that's been relaunched recently to be more of a participation magazine. The Australian Open program. So all of those sort of titles, the annual report. There's about 4 people in that team. We have about 3 or 4 in the editorial team. We do the tennis website, which is our grassroots site. We've spent about 6 to 8 months completely redeveloping that recently. That was a big project. We have 2 or 3 digital producers. Ben Loke is our senior producer. So he works with IBM to produce the Australian Open website. They're graphic designers too. So a lot of the look and feel, all of it really comes from us. We don't rely on external agencies. We do have 3 agencies who we partner with to help us produce some of this stuff. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it all. We've got 4 Australian Open series sites that we've developed. We've got the tennis site, as I said before. We've got a cardio tennis site, the Hot Shots tennis site, and we're managing the content on those sites as well as building those properties all the year round. A huge thing for us this year was the AO Blitz. It was new, and it started in about April, May. That was an activation where the PR team visited 100 towns all over Australia, and they kind of took this tennis roadshow out there. Hot shots demos, cardio demos, taking them into schools. We also created this online competition, which is the AO Blitz, alongside that. And the AO Blitz is something to get people playing tennis, and they would have to take on all these different sort of tennis-related challenges.
So there's a little bit of combining participation with the gamification side that you can do in digital.
Yeah, and for the first time really using the Australian Open to leverage tennis. It's the biggest brand that we've got. So people are really playing to have a player compete for their town at the Australian Open. So the points they earn can win them prizes, but they can also win points for their town. So at the moment, the competition finishes on the 31st of December. There's a town called Kendall, which is winning, and I don't know who's coming second. It could be Parkes, or it's pretty competitive at the moment.
So what can they win, Kendall and Parkes?
So Kendall and Parkes, Kendall's coming first, Parkes second, Kendall by a long way. They can win a player at the Australian Open, and that player will represent them. Kendall looks like they will have the choice of either Rafael Nadal, who's currently number 1, or Serena Williams.
So what do they get when they win them? They don't go out to their local club and have a hit?
No, they don't. So if they get that player, and if that player wins the Australian Open, then the town benefits. The town will get this huge party for one thing, but it was difficult because how do we give a town a
prize?
Lot of prizes? So the top points winners in that prize will get $10,000, and there will be different sort of levels of prizes for the top club and the top school. The schools are getting tennis courts, the clubs are also getting equipment and that sort of thing. There are a lot of different prizes.
So a lot of infrastructure for the town to say thanks a lot for playing tennis.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things is they'll get a lot of exposure, because we'll be crossing to them, and we're kind of creating even greater sort of tribe and supporter groups. Towns can win though if they get a player who has the fastest serve, if they get a player who's the youngest, if they get a player that's the oldest in the tournament. So they're sort of laid with lots of prizes all the way through. And I think it's a very creative activation. It's a little bit hard for people to explain it, and they're just starting to get it now. It's reaching its sort of climax with the draw that is happening on the 10th, and they'll find out who they've got.
But it's obviously going to roll on towards for next year, so you're going to be using, it'll get stacks of publicity throughout the Open, then it goes back to your goal of getting more people to play.
That's right, yeah.
And so one other thing I wanted to chat about is video. I know you guys have done a lot of work with YouTube, and Vine and Instagram video have come up big. Is there any things in particular you're looking to do, because tennis does lend itself to sharing those really short snippets of highlights. What are you looking to do in that space, Dan?
Yeah, video has always been really important for us. Our content, our partners Uyala on the website, our production team are pumping out more and more content each year. And definitely in social, for us, Kim and I have always discussed, we want to be the first ones to, like you said, break those highlights, break that ball kid catch that we all remember, or that amazing forehand from Nadal. So this year we're exploring the use of Snappy TV with Uyala as well, so that we can turn around that content and push it out through the Australian Open Twitter account, a minute after, or even less, 30 seconds after that highlight has happened, because we know that the audience want to see that. We know that there's that demand for that quick turnaround. We know that if we don't get it out first, then someone else will. So we really want to be the source of truth. We want to be the voice of the tournament. And that's what we aim for with our social media, is to really give people that exclusive content, and that they can come to us as that source of information.
Yeah, I mean, Snappy TV is used by the guys at the NBA have used it. NFL have been using it recently. We've spoken about it previously. Telstra were using it during the NRL and Origin series a little clumsily. as we sort of went through, as they weren't doing it on the official channels. So
Right.
I think it's really great for you guys to be able to have it on that official channel because it plays in stream. So whether you're on the Twitter mobile app or whatever, it plays straight away, whether in the app or on desktop. So that should be great because it does lend itself to, wow, favourite, retweet, look at this shot from, Nadal, Federer,
and that's
or
right. And it's us
Sharapova.
putting the fans first. It's us providing the content. It's the same with the Social Shack. It's putting the fans first. Kia Greatest Fan, putting them first. The iPad app. So we're really focusing. After so many years, we know what the fans are after, and we're trying to provide that exclusivity, that feel for the fans. Whether it's the behind the scenes photo or whether it's the video turnaround of this just happened, and giving them all of that content so they can share it. And I think the great thing about the Shack is that that's going to put that front and center for those people that are going to who may not know that we're on social media, but it's showing that we see it as a very important way to connect with the fans of the tournament.
Definitely. And it is always a hot ticket item in January in Melbourne, Australian Open tickets. And this year you've got a new innovation for, there would have been people who opened up Christmas presents yesterday and have got Australian Open tickets. But you have got a new initiative, sort of again following the lead of other leagues, of being able to ticket exchange and go back through your site.
Yeah, it's called Fan Marketplace, and we're doing that in conjunction with TicTec. So if you've got a ticket at the Australian Open for Christmas and you can't go, then you'll be able to place it on this platform. And
so it's just another. It's a marketplace that you can put your ticket up. Someone else can buy it, and it's a trusted market. So again, if you're looking for a ticket for a particular session, you can't get it. Go to that, so that'll be on the Australian Open site? Yeah,
that's it. You can get to it from the Australian Open site or from TicTec as well. You can't buy tickets now. I'll just say that they're sold out for the men's final, the 26th of January. They're sold out for the 24th, which is that Friday night men's semi-final. They're sold out for the 22nd of January and for the 18th on the night session, which is the Saturday night. So people really know now which are the great sessions. However, you can still get the ticket to the women's final, I believe.
So last thing, like for when you're heading into the Open and you're a couple of weeks out, and you've got, in your digital team's goals, what do you want to get out of the Open? Do you have some key? Is there key metrics? Is there key events? What are the things you're looking for from a digital team out of the Open?
Well, I'm always looking for. We do have a lot of pressure to keep growing. Last year, the website ausopen.com had 15 million visitors to it. A lot of that was because we put our scoreboard out in Mandarin, and we have developed a partnership with Tencent in Beijing. So we've developed that partnership, and Lina did very well as well. So we were able to keep growing. Our desktop traffic has diminished as our mobile, 50% of traffic went to mobile last year. So for me personally, I just want to see that traffic keep growing. I don't want it to go backwards. It's hard because a lot of people now have live scoring or appear to have live scoring. No one can have it as instantly or with as much depth that we can have it, but a lot of people can appear to have it when we don't have a lot of the digital rights. So Tennis Australia has made commercial decisions, and as a consequence of those, we don't own our digital rights. In Australia, we can't live stream more than a few minutes because of our deal with Channel 7. So, within those restrictions, I think we do pretty well, and I want to see us, hold our own. I don't want to see us go backwards. A lot of it's reliant on the tennis. That sounds obvious, but if we get good tennis matches, our traffic just grows. It just does. In 2008, it went from 4.7 million uniques to 8 million uniques. Doesn't seem that much now. We never thought we'd get to 10 million. But it jumped that year because Novak Djokovic won and Maria won that year. The courts went blue. Baghdadis and Hewitt had a match until 5 o'clock in the morning, and we just don't have any control over that. So if we get, I think a few years ago we passed 10 million because we had the perfect storm. We had Nadal and Federer and Murray and who's the other one meeting in the semi-finals.
Yep.
Who's the other one?
Novak.
Yeah.
Yeah, Novak. If we get those, we'll do really well.
Yep.
If we had Federer winning, we'd just kill it.
Yep.
We'd kill it.
And from a social point of view, is there any particular platform you think is going to have that sort of hockey stick interest and growth and explosion for you guys?
Funnily enough, we've noticed a massive growth in Twitter maybe over the last 6 months outside of tournaments. So that's really surprised us because during the 2 weeks, we basically double our followers on the Oz Open Twitter account. But the last 6 months, we've seen massive growth in that area. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen there. You know, using Snappy TV to get out those highlights. And, you know, for us, it's about follower growth, but we're really trying to concentrate on this engagement, working with our PR team to get the exclusive content, working with the media team and our media director to make sure that we're the ones breaking the news. And so in terms of social, we're really trying to create that voice. You know, we've moved away, I guess, from, you know, websites more about the visitors and the growth, and we want the audience growth on social, but we're moving away to really providing the fans with a great experience.
Well, social drives the traffic if you're putting in the effort on the engagement side of it. I mean, the numbers, you know, the traffic numbers from social are pretty consistent. So again, if you grow those numbers and you're providing that engagement, you will get that, you know, flow through.
And now, because of social, players have become known. I think there was a big fear a few years ago that with the top 10, certainly in my lifetime, there's always this fear of, other than the top players, everyone else is a bit, you know, who is this person from the Eastern Bloc? And if you don't have those marketable players, then it could kill the whole game. But because of social, players are jumping on and they're showing their personalities, and people like that Sergei Shakovsky, who tweeted the line call at the French Open, you know, they're coming out and people, they're developing a following that they would never have had before.
And it's great for you as a content team because your business is telling stories.
Exactly.
You know, tennis is great for that in that there's always a Cinderella story, there's always the underdog.
And they need us. They need us too. They need us to talk to them and talk to their accounts. We follow them. They tweet back to us.
I think 2013 was a good example with Sloane Stephens, you know, making that dream run against Serena and winning there, and then the match we didn't know about between Stan Wawrinka and Novak, which was on social generated the most conversation, generated more conversation than the finals, and you know, these things you can't prepare for, as Kim was saying, but that is really driving the conversation online is sort of that unpredictability, but also, you know, these players that are sort of unknown and suddenly come out of nowhere, and people have a way to connect with them now, and also as us as a tournament, we can really help get those personalities out there.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. I look forward to checking in at the Social Shack at the Australian Open. I'll be tagged in Oz Open. Only do it once.
Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now.
Thanks again to Kim and Dan for taking the time for a quick interview post-Christmas. I know it's a very busy time for everyone at Tennis Australia as they prepare for the Aussie Open. Look forward to seeing Oz Open trending throughout January. That's AUS Open. So, 2013 comes to a close. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. Happy birthday to my brother Matt, if he is listening. Turns 39 today. So the year that was, obviously, as I said at the top of the show, big year for myself from a podcasting point of view. Thanks again to Francis and Half. I also turned 40 this year, and a really big achievement is my daughter graduated high school, so well done, Jade. On the downside, I also tore my Achilles. As I tell people, I was just following the lead of my scar brother, Kobe Bryant, and remains to be seen if the tax department will allow me to claim all my medical bills as marketing research. From a travel and speaking point of view, it was really good to speak at Racing Victoria's conference earlier in the year, and obviously always enjoy SEAT. SEAT 2013 in Kansas City was a big success. Looking forward to SEAT 2014 in Miami next year. And also enjoyed my March trip, checking out the social media marketing world in San Diego. Great conference if you want to just look at the social side of things. It was also great to catch up with teams like the Warriors and the A's and the Trailblazers and the Galaxy. A big thank you to all my clients. I really enjoyed doing workshops on site. Cowboys up north, Wildcats, and the West Coast Eagles out west, the Crows over in Adelaide, up in Sydney with the Rabbitohs and Cricket New South Wales, and also the guys at FFA and A-League. And not forgetting the sporting capital of the world. I don't mind walking now that I can to work with teams like the Melbourne Storm or driving out and catching up with the guys at Hawthorn, who I did some work with later in the year. Some of the other highlights from the year, working with the Sydney Thunder with Mike Hussey, signing, even though I did that on crutches while recovering from Achilles. The Socceroos World Cup preparations and the qualifying was obviously a really big moment for the year, as was doing the A-League Manchester United activation using Sports Trends Map, and I'm looking forward to doing a few Sports Trends Map in 2014. It's also good helping Twitter get set up in Australia. We verified over 100 sports accounts and athlete accounts earlier in the year as they found their feet in Australia, and it was really good to be part of the Warriors Live Google Hangout, even though I had to get up at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And lastly, you would have heard the previous episode. It was a lot of fun working on the Super Awesome Micro project throughout the year. It was a secret project for 18 months, and it was terrific to be able to let everyone know about it. It's now at 3.6 million views, and I'm looking forward to breaking down that as a digital case study in the new year. And lastly, I want to give a big thanks to a friend of mine and one of the blokes on Beers Blokes Business, Steve Vallis, who's the owner of the Honey Bar, for helping us with the events that we ran this year. We ran SB Night in January, and then we also ran the BBB launch at Honey, which allows me to say, please save the date. Tuesday, the 21st of January, we're going to have another SB Night at Honey Bar, so lock in that date. If you're not on the Sports Geek mailing list and getting our weekly emails where it recaps all the links that I've been reading and sharing throughout the week, you should be. You can get that at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now. This event will fill up quickly, and we'll start promoting it properly in the new year once everyone is back at work. And I say that with a hat tip to the people working in football and in cricket, and obviously the people in the US who are working solidly, but it is summer in Australia and there's a lot of people off in the Christmas New Year period. Okay, that wind-up music is telling me to dedicate this episode and get out of the podcast. So this is episode 30. A few nominations that I had for episode 30. One being Rasheed Wallace being a Detroit Pistons man. He wore that in the 2004 finals. Also like the work that Stephen Curry's doing online and on Twitter especially. And I also thought about Martin Brodeur from the New Jersey Devils goalie. But I actually went back into my fan mode and remembered an NBA basketballer that I started following when I was a youngster, and that would be Bernard King, who wore the number 30 with distinction with a few teams, but most notably the Knicks and the Bullets later in his career. The show notes for this podcast can be found at sportsgeekhq.com/30. That is the same for every single podcast. You can put a number between 1 and 30 and you will get show notes with all the links from every single episode. All the episodes are at sportsgeekhq.com/SGP. There you can find all the episodes and also all the guests. Please follow all the guests on Twitter, connect with them on LinkedIn. Every person I've had on, absolute rock star, and you should be following them and connecting with them. It leaves me with a social media post of the week. A lot of teams at the minute are doing recaps of games and big moments, and they're using infographics, and I reckon it's a really, really good trend, especially on Facebook. It's not primarily there to be driving traffic, but to engage fans on the platform. And so for this week's one, I've picked a post from the Duke basketball team where they put up an infographic recapping a current winning streak, their non-conference home win streak. So good work. There's a few other teams doing infographics, and it might be a post for another day. My only tweak for that is that they could have optimized it for the platform. and potentially use that 1.91 to 1 ratio for Facebook. Or if you're going to do it on Twitter, the ideal size is 1024 by 512, and that will allow you to see the Twitter image in the stream without anybody having to open it up. Okay, that noise in the background is from the MCG, from the Boxing Day test. They're known as the Barmy Army. They're the English cheer squad, effectively, that have been following around the English cricket team. Unfortunately, they do great songs and chants and singing, but thankfully, as an Australian, Australia has won the Ashes back and currently lead 4-0 in the Ashes going into the SCG test in the new year. Thank you very much to Josh Rowe for capturing the Barmy Army in full voice. And that reminder is for the closing 2 cents. Get focused in 2014. Fans first, content second, platforms third.
Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Find all Sports Geek podcasts at sportsgeekhq.com/SGP. Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign-up-now. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.